the Opposing View podcast. Topic: Volcanic Winter. How real is the threat? Opening remarks. Welcome to the Opposing View, the podcast that puts two contrasting minds into one focused debate. Each episode asks a single provocative question and lets reason, not rhetoric, lead the way. Today's question touches both the sky above and the soil beneath. Is the threat of a volcanic winter serious enough to justify global preparedness, or is it an exaggerated geological ghost story? Volcanic winter refers to a sharp and prolonged drop in global temperature caused by the massive release of sulfur aerosols during a large volcanic eruption. These particles reflect sunlight, cool the planet, and can disrupt weather, agriculture, and economies, sometimes for years. To explore this, we're joined by two guests who take opposite sides of the debate. Introducing the experts. Arguing for the motion, Dr. Alex Renner, a volcanologist and systems risk researcher who models cascading effects of large-scale eruptions on climate and infrastructure. Arguing against the existential nature of the threat, Dr. Lucien Marceau, a historical climatologist who focuses on extreme weather reconstruction and societal responses from past natural disasters. Excerpt 1. Pro-argument. Dr. Alex Renner. Dr. Renner, what do you have to say?
Thank you, John, for your introduction. Let me start with 3 historical examples that show how real and repeatable volcanic winter truly is. First, the eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815 on the island of Sumbawa in present-day Indonesia. It killed around 71,000 people, mostly from starvation and disease. It triggered the year without a summer in Europe and North America in 1816. In Switzerland, crops failed. In Vermont, it snowed in June. Farmers lost entire harvests. The price of oats, vital for feeding horses, soared 700%. Second, Krakatoa in 1883 between the islands of Java and Sumatra. Though not as large as Tambora, it still injected massive ash and sulfur into the stratosphere. Temperatures worldwide dropped by approximately 0.3 degrees Celsius. The skies turned blood red as far away as London and New York. Over 36,000 people died, mostly from tsunamis, but also from indirect effects. Harvests in India and China were disrupted. Third, while not deadly, the Eyjafjallajökull eruption in 2010 in Iceland shows modern fragility. It grounded over 100,000 flights across Europe for nearly a week, and that was a relatively small VEI4 eruption. The point? It doesn't take a super eruption to cause massive disruption. Now imagine a VEI7 or VEI8 eruption, like Taupo in New Zealand or Campiflegre near Naples, both active and showing signs of unrest. Models published in peer-reviewed journals estimate a 1 in 6 chance of a super eruption this century. Yet no coordinated global plan exists. That's not alarmism, that's geopolitical blindness.
Clear examples grounded in science and history. But do these eruptions really threaten modern civilization? Or do they reflect isolated events from a pre-industrial world? Let's hear from Dr. Lucien Marceau. Excerpt 2. Contra-argument, Dr. Marceau.
Dr. Renner raises important examples, but let's unpack each one. Tambora was devastating, no doubt, but it didn't collapse civilization. In fact, by 1819, grain prices had stabilized in England and France. Societies adapted. Many of the famines were worsened by pre-existing economic hardship and poor governance, not the eruption alone. Krakatoa is often dramatized, but while the eruption was violent, the climatic cooling, lasted just 1 to 2 years, and the temperature drop was modest. The disruptions in India and China were short-lived and didn't lead to systemic famine. The world moved on and kept growing. As for Eyjafjallajökull, it's a perfect case of misjudging inconvenience for existential threat. The airspace shutdown was a precautionary overreaction, later revised. No lives were lost, and airlines adjusted their protocols for future events. In other words, we learned. Also, modern global food systems are far more redundant and resilient than in 1815. Satellite monitoring, diversified crop zones, international trade, even hydroponic agriculture all provide buffers against localized failures. Yes, VEI-7 eruptions are possible, but they're also extremely rare, and their onset is slow, giving time for reaction, unlike pandemics or nuclear war. What worries me more is the opportunity cost. Every dollar spent stockpiling against a hypothetical eruption is one we are not using to fight actual, unfolding threats like extreme heat waves, biodiversity collapse, or political instability.
Rebuttals. We've heard the positions. Now let's let the experts respond to each other directly, in order. Rebuttal 1. Dr. Renner responds.
Dr. Marceau is right to highlight that societies recovered, but that doesn't mean they weren't close to collapse. In 1816, thousands emigrated from Europe to North America due to food insecurity. In Ireland, the eruption compounded existing agricultural instability. Even today, the global grain market is tightly interconnected. A 10% drop in wheat from major producers could cause ripple effects worldwide. He also mentions learning from Eyjafjallajökull, but modern aviation only resumed when the eruption stopped, not because we solved ash detection in real time. Had that lasted months instead of days, supply chains across Europe, including medicine and food, would have fractured. And let's remember, we've been lucky. Campi Flegrei, showing uplift and increased gas emissions, lies near Naples, a city of nearly 1 million people. If that erupts, even moderately, we could face tens of billions in losses, displacement, and climate aftershocks. We should be grateful for past recoveries and use them as a warning, not a comfort.
So, recovery is possible, but resilience is not guaranteed. Let's give Dr. Novak the final rebuttal. Dr. Lucien Marceau responds.
Yes, we must respect geological risk, but perspective matters. People emigrated after Tambora, but that was also post-Napoleonic Europe, with massive poverty, political upheaval, and bad harvests before the eruption. Tambora was a spark, not the fire. On Eyjafjallajökull, aviation agencies now distinguish ash concentrations, and aircraft can fly safely at low levels. The disruption revealed weaknesses, but also how quickly we adapted. Finally, Campi Flegrei is a concern, but it's monitored constantly. Civil protection agencies in Italy have evacuation plans, and the geology is not trending toward imminent eruption. Bottom line, natural disasters have always challenged us, but existential threats reshape the entire human future. Volcanic winter? Disruptive? Yes. Existential? Not with the tools, knowledge, and international networks we have today.
Closing remarks. From the rice fields of Indonesia to the runways of Europe, volcanic eruptions shape history, but they don't write its end. Whether you side with preparedness or proportionality, one thing's clear: complex threats deserve more than fear. They demand understanding. Thanks to both of our guests, and thank you for listening. Until next time, stay critical, stay curious.